Hello. What is up? How's your day going? My day's good. Just wanted to chat. Wanted to kind of talk about the channel. So basically, my name's Dave. I'm a gamer. Love some games. Own a tap house. Sell a lot of different beers. Been doing this for 5.5 years. I'm not here about making money. Just here to have a good time. Play some games. With all this craziness going on in the world. So today, I wanted to talk about some beers. Or breweries. And pour some beers from them. So the first one is going to be Omnipolo. Swedish company. Omnipolo is a beer production company founded by brewer, I think you say Henok, and artist Karl in 2010. The shared vision of changing the perception of beer forever. So basically, this is one of their cans. You can kind of see the artwork. That's why I kind of went with the colors theme video in the back. Ooh, snakes eating it. This guy that we're going to crack open is one of their Imperial Indian Pale Ales. ABV by volume is 8.5%. So Imperial. So Imperial means usually over a 8%. Sometimes, depending on where you're at, what country, and who you're talking to, 8 to 10% becomes an Imperial. We could one day talk about the history. If these videos start getting more likes, people are following along and watching them and stuff, we can talk about the history of beer. But right now, we're just going to kick back on my day off. Crack open this beer. And pour it. So in Colorado, in the U.S., the haze craze is what everybody's all about. And me, personally, love IPAs. Any type of IPA, I'll drink. But here in Colorado, everybody just loves that IPA profile, and it has to be hazy. As you can kind of see, this one's a little hazy. Definitely has some yeast floating around in it. One thing I like to do with my cans, and we'll do Evil Twin, is I like to flip them upside down before I crack them open. So the yeast can kind of go through it. So you're not getting that yeast bomb at the end. And what that means is get a lot of yeast at the end of it. So Omnipolo, I discovered them a couple years ago. I don't remember exactly if it was Cooper, a customer of mine at the time, now a friend. If him and I were just drinking a bunch of beers and he brought me an Omnipolo, if I found Omnipolo, but I'll definitely give credit to Cooper. He has really good taste in beers. And this is good, nice and citrusy. So IPAs come in hoppy profiles of citrus, earthy, spicy hops, floral, piney. This being an Imperial and getting this at a time. When did I buy this? And okay, so fun fact, you shouldn't sit on IPAs for a long time. You should probably drink them right away. But when you buy a case of it, for me personally, it's hard to go through that whole case. And I saved one or two. The June of last year. I should have had it earlier. But it's still good. The 8.5 got a little bit, made it a little bit sweeter because it's sitting in the can. Alcohol, it wasn't sweet that much. The hops dried fell off, so it's not really piney. Alright, let's kick back and let's check out this song. Drink a beer. All right. Thunder Olson, thank you for a tune. Loving it. All right, we got some music coming back on. So, great thing about Omnipolo is that they love to explore what beer has and can become. And that they basically like to, well, not basically, they actually do this. They brew at breweries all over the world. And what that means is that they get to stay curious, grounded, and tuned in, you know. And they believe in the whole expression of and works that resemble other pop culture. And one of their biggest pop culture expressions would be music, and I dig that. Let's check them out. Let's so that's about them. Go to their store. Let's see what they're rocking right now. So you can see like how colorful their stuff is. I mean, look at this. Cherry maple pancake goza. Wow. Imperial stout. Pecan mud cake. 4 roses. Barrel age. That's what the BA Imperial Stout stands for. BA always means barrel age. And like, I mean, you're an artist. You could do whatever you want to. Look at their work and their cans. So friggin' beautiful. What an amazing brewery. I love this. I wish I could order these. So let's talk about some of their beers. Okay, we'll just click on one. So hard seltzer, basically no yeast involved. What they're doing is they're taking no hops or malt. They're doing is they're taking a cane sugar and they're fermenting it, and that's how they make a hard seltzer. Imperial IPA is what like this one that we're drinking. So Imperial IPA, like I said before, is going to be anywhere from 8 to 10% Imperial or double, as they call it. Imperial Stout, same thing. Here they got a 14%er. Like I said, on average, they usually have Imperials will be 8 to 10%, but then you're now barrel aging that Imperial, making it 14%. So even though it's an Imperial, basically it should be a double Imperial Stout. But that's okay. Like I said, being an artist, you can do whatever you want when it comes to brewing. American Pale Ale. So King Richard basically was one of the first known people to have a pale ale and to convert that pale ale into Indian pale ale. The biggest difference would be, I mean, there's brewing processes, but the history of it is that King Richard used to ship his beer to his army to make them happy and keep them the morale up. They used to send over pale ales to India, and what was going on was the beer was getting bad. So somebody decided to add more hops, hence Indian Pale Ale, more hops. So we think Indian Pale Ales are hoppier than Pale Ales, but in the last, I want to say 5 years, but it could even be 7 years, Pale Ales are pretty in line with the process, or in line with IPAs. So they're both hoppy. They can have a bitter scale. They can have this same bitter scale and the same ABV, basically, is what I was trying to say. So that's what American Ale Pale is right there. What's this one? Ooh, this is Mud Cake Hot Sauce. Oh, you all should know what hot sauce is. There's another Pale Ale. Okay, so Goza is a sour, and they're trending all over the world, but there is a region in Germany that the water was salty, so when they were making their beers, a lot of European countries, which you can correct me on, but what I've read, some of them, the age groups are obviously different than here in America. They have a process over there where younger people can drink, so they make these sour products. And so Gozas and Creeks, as an example, depending on if it's Belgium or if it's German, and those are just some of the sour profiles. Goza is made in a region where the water was salty. So they couldn't really ferment it the way that they wanted to get that salt out. So those are a salted sour. That's the Goza. But look how beautiful that looks. That's because of the cherry and the grape, the wine grapes. Okay. We talked about Imperial Stout, Imperial IPA, American Pale Ale. So sour, depending on how they produce it, there's two different ways to do a sour. Let's put that back up. Crushed raspberry, dry crush. Oh, one thing too is like the Gozas and some of the sours. Let's find another Goza here. There was one down here. They're all 7% except for this guy right here. So sours like Gozas. Oh, Gozas are sour too. But the big thing about sours is depending on how they're made and where they're made at. Belgium's, well, the first beer technically, as they discovered, was a sour. So what they ended up doing with that is that two guys were out in a field long time ago, and it was raining. Big storm came in, and they left their grains in some barrels, and it rained for days or even a week. They came back, and one of them tried it. They started feeling weird about it, and so that's kind of where the beer process came along. And then the natural yeast in the air, which is very important for sours depending on what region and what country you're a part of. But the big thing is they drank that and they were feeling weird, so basically getting intoxicated. And so with sours, the Belgians are licensed in Belgium. The monks, I meant to say, are, maybe I said that already, are very licensed, or the only ones usually licensed to make a sour. So they do open air fermentation. They keep them in vessels. They let the natural air and the yeast in the air and the sunlight sour their beers. And it takes anywhere from like a year to 3 years, even longer, and they sour it. And the great thing about things like Petrus, Monk's Cafe, especially Petrus, which is a Belgium sour, they'll do a blend. They'll take a sour or a brand new red, and then they take that old 3-year-old red that's soured, and then they mix it together, and they do a blend of like a 40-60, 30-70, or a 20-80, which is super cool. But here in America, I'm assuming since we like things quick, fast, and easy, we sour things within 24 hours. Like we'll take a beer, let's say we mess that beer up, we were brewing it, something went wrong with it. Well, we can take that and throw it into a copper kettle and heat it up, flash heat it, and that could sour it. And then we have a sour product, and then we could dry hop it again and call it a sour IPA. So different processes of sour. So that's the cool thing about a sour and a Belge or a Goza. Usually if it's a wood barrel sour like the Belgians that they age in wood barrels for a long time, or a vessel, open fermenter, they would call it something like a creek or a rude brewing. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but those are different styles. You don't just necessarily always see sour. Belgians like to call them tarts, or that's what I've seen when I buy Belgian products for my bar. All right, so going back, we talked about pale ales and imperial IPAs. No, maybe we just talked about imperial stouts. Okay, so we talked about the imperial IPA. So going back to their profiles and their cool pictures of Omnipolo and drinking this super dope, yummy beer by them, which is an imperial IPA. And them just being influenced, like going back to this, I love this part right here. Pop cultural expressions such as music resemble the work. Approach means we get to stay curious, grounded, and tuned in. And they like to share. They both have a shared vision, the two owners, of changing the perception of beer forever. Explore what beer has and can become. And it's amazing with what they're doing. I love this too. I don't know, just kind of like the beats we're listening to. All right, let's go back here, talk about some more of their beers. Went a little too far. Oh yeah, so basically it looks like they've been doing a lot of what's kind of trending here in America. And they are, if I remember, let's go here. No, I know for a fact, not if I remember. So basically, they're from Sweden, is where they start. Now they got with a couple of different companies in the U.S. and 12% distributors, and it's right here, or 12% importers, and we get them in Colorado. That's out of Brooklyn. So a lot of people see Brooklyn on there, or Toronto. Mostly Brooklyn when we get beers from them in the U.S., but they are based, and their ingredients and the processes come from Sweden, which is, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, I know what I was going to say. So being here in the U.S. and getting their beer out here and having all these crazy profiles like the sours and IPAs and imperial stouts and hard seltzers, they're basically just doing what's trendy here in the U.S. And these trends, all this would sell rapidly in Colorado. They're this is what my customers ask for every single. Like as an example, they go, "Do you have a sour?" And we go, "Yeah, we have a salted sour." And they can go, I don't know." Then I go, "But I have a blueberry maple pancake sour," and they're like, "What?" "Yeah, I want that." Or they'll be like, "Do you have a stout?" And I go, "Yeah, I have a stout with oatmeal." And they're like, "I don't know about the oatmeal." But then if I say I have an imperial porter that's barrel aged, depending on what is barrel aged in, and they see 12.5, they just automatically go, "I want the 12.5. Crazy how we are so young and so new to beer here in America. And the culture is ran by Bud Coors and Miller, and they own 90% of that market share. And consumers just know sour, sweet, or like as an example, imperial porter with 12%, or an IPA. Where was one? Imperial IPA. Sorry, I don't know these. Oh no, it was down here, wasn't it? That is 8.5. You know, people come in and go, "You have anything hoppy?" And I go, "Oh yeah, I have this American Pale Ale." I love the fact that it's chewy, because that probably means it's hazy. And let's click on this as an example. Do they let us know what hop profiles they have? They don't even. But if I explain this to a customer as earthy and citrusy, they're like, I don't know about the earthy tones. Then if I say, let's go back to that imperial. I'll buy all their swag. Did I nerd out over this? Okay, so IPA 7%, which would be super fun. Let's go to right here. Then I get this one, and if I say, "Oh, this has some fun keywords in it," seen right away where Americans love Milkshake IPA, and so they'll be like, "Oh, that's what I want," because what they do is they here in America they brew, so they have a milk sugar, and my understanding is milk sugar can be scarce and harder to get. Milk sugar gives it a mouthfeel, like a milkshake, like a malted shake. I'm gonna take a drink real quick. And so it gives that like heaviness on the palate. But really it also gives it a sweetness. And so when this trend started a couple years, people were using milk sugar because of the fact that probably that's what somebody came up with. Like a brewed IPA was invented in San Francisco, and they were using champagne yeast. So people saw that. And then once they started making a couple of them, they were realizing I could do this too. So then they were changing or manipulating the ingredients or the process. So, excuse me, milkshakes here are very heavy on the lactose. And so with that, going back to the mouthfeel and the taste profile, what they end up doing is that they just really are invested in trying to make it. I think a lot of breweries won't admit this, but I think they want to make it sweeter. So you're taking away that bitterness. And so when a lot of people come into my location and they'll say stuff like, do you have any hoppy profiles? They don't even say that. They just go, do you have any IPAs? And I say, yeah, we have 5 of them. And I'll tell them about the bitterness profiles or taste profiles from spicy, earthy, floral, citrusy, and piney. And they'll be like, I'm not really into the piney. Or they just say, I'm not really into the bitter. They're all different bitter rankings. But what lactose does, it gives it a sweetness. To kind of cover that chemical process or profile, they'll add things like this. Here they add extra dose of vanilla. And this is super cool. They do vegan milkshake. It's lactose free. So what they're probably doing is they're getting a, I wonder if they do coconut sugar. I love this. Just reading this, I just read that for the very first time. This is blowing me away that these guys are doing something cutting edge, and that's what I love about their beers is they're always cutting edge. Always ahead of the game. So lactose free means no lactose. Vegan milkshake. They don't really describe what, but not doing a dairy product, so maybe a coconut. Then they have vanilla. So that's what my customers want. They want a sweeter, dumbed down IPA. And the really big key point here, besides sweet, is they want that 9%. So definitely this would sell like crazy at my place. Talk about hard seltzers. I just want to buy all their beer. Can I just get all their beer? Okay, we talked about the hot sauce. But we were talking about the, yeah, they're definitely doing what's trendy now. I love it. Non-alcoholic beers are getting really big. I can't remember the company that we had. And they were the first, they claimed to be the first. I could say I'm the first something and claim, what were they doing? I can't think of the name of the brewery. But anyways, they were brewing the first non-alcoholic IPA in America, I don't know, in the world. And that was about a year and a half ago when we first got that. The non-alcoholic beverages are really big. Yeah, like this one. This beer has taken a year to develop, and with a hopping rate equal to IPAs and an expressive yeast blend, this beer is true delight. And it's 0.3%. Non-alcoholic. I wonder why they still call it a beer. Maybe marketing. And this one's brewed in Belgium. And I'm sorry, I can't pronounce some of these words. It's a beautiful word, though. Beautiful name. I kind of feel like this keeps changing around every time I look at it. It doesn't take me back to the same place, but that's okay. Another non-alcoholic. Fruited beer, inspired by Swedish childhood tree rosehip soup. Brewed with lots and lots of rosehip. That sounds yummy too. I wish Americans could get into that process of stop thinking corporate America. We'll never get there. I mean, look at our political landscape right now, which I won't talk about. All right, let's see what else we have. Oh, Belgian Pale Ale. That'll be a fun one to talk about. So, like talking about King Richard and sending his pale ales over to India, making an Indian pale ale, adding more hops. Nowadays, the pale ales and the IPAs, there's such a thin line trying to decipher hoppiness and ABV. Back in the day, pale ales used to be lower ABV too, but this one rocking a 6.5. I'm going to guess, we can click on it, is going to have a Belgium hop profile. And if anything, maybe, oh God, I'm drawing a blank right now. Well, besides the malt profile and the hop profile being from Belgium, candy sugar from Belgium. Belgium candy sugar. I don't know, my brain had a brain fart there for a second. It's only my first beer and I'm only halfway through it. Do they tell us? Well, I mean, it's Belgium, so that's why it could be a Belgian Pale Ale. Tired of talking my friends into pit stops at beer bars before heading out in fear of having to drink bland lager all night? Okay. So it's hopped and fermented dry using champagne yeast. Oh, the champagne yeast. So it could be like a brut, and that would be B-R-U-T. Yeast and the hops in the combination with a simple malt bill provides the beer with a quality of being rich in taste yet refreshing. Makes me want to try that one too. 6.5. Probably a delicious beer. I'll have to bring a brut beer on here soon. Talk about that. Bottle this one. I wonder if they bottle them in Belgium. Yeah, so a lot of Belgiums have this nice amber profile to it. Candy sugar, malts generate that. But they don't say anything about candy. That's okay. Doesn't necessarily mean it has to have it. I know it's weird saying candy sugar. This whole time I was talking and the music wasn't really on. I turned it down too much, sorry. Okay, Pilsners. Oh, let's back up. Because I want you to know I'm talking about the... Oh, I lost it. Where was it? Okay, we'll talk about this one. So Pilsners is a German product, and the great thing about this is depending on where it's at, its top or bottom fermentation, and then you got a lot of different ingredients depending, not a lot, you got 4 basic ingredients I should say, because they have purity laws there in Germany. But the rest of the world, I don't know if they really go along with the purity laws. But what a purity law would be, 4 basic ingredients would be water, hops, malt, and yeast. And what they do is they do usually 1 malt, 1 hop. And here in America, a lot of people think Pilsners are Bud, Coors, and Miller, but the difference between the rest of the world, they use a lot of them use barleys, where Bud, Coors, and Miller use a lot of corn. Corn is cheaper, easier to manufacture, easier to control, and it also has a corn sugar, which gives you a little bit of a sweetness, unlike traditional German Pilsners. Let's see where they brew this one and see what's in it. All right. Okay, so here is super cool. A couple of different things that pop up right away would be lagering. You take the beer, and the longer you ferment it, so basically what you're doing is you're brewing a beer. You're heating it up, you're cold crashing it, and then you're putting it into a fermenter. And then what you're doing is you're lagering it. You're going to keep it in a fermenter in a vessel for many days. And usually it's better to do weeks or months. You know, like 10 weeks, I believe one brewery head brewmaster told me 10 weeks is the minimum for lagering. But here they're talking about 100 days, which is super cool. The other great part is that part of it is in a French oak. The French oak is going to do different things to it that are going to make it dry, bitter, and crisp. And the cool thing about bitterness is going to be the fact that bitter is different things. Eat a grapefruit, it's bitter. You drink a piney hop, it's going to be bitter. And that's a great thing about words. We use one word for everything, but we automatically think bitter is hoppy here in America. Americans always say, I don't like bitter. And I go, so you don't like a bitter malt? You don't like a bitter sour? You know, like if I made a sour or a hard seltzer is a great example, you know, with cane sugar, and I make a hard seltzer and then I add grapefruit to it, that's still bitter. There's no hops in it, but Americans just naturally say bitter hop. Well, they don't say hops. They just say, I don't like bitter. And so we have to decipher and break out our little decoder of words and scramble it and be like, what do you mean bitter? And then they get mad at us and they say you're condescending. And it's like, no, we're just trying to educate. Okay, I went on a little rant there. I didn't mean to. Okay, so dry, bitter, crisp lager is basically what it is. Amy 100-day Pilsner. With Amy, we let it... Yeah. I was just seeing why they call it Amy, but there's no reason why. And this is brewed in Sweden. Cool. Okay, let me finish this real quick, and then we'll get into Evil Twin. Seltzer Towel. Dude, blueberry maple chocolate pancake. Peanut butter. Goza. There's so much going on with this, they couldn't fit peanut butter. I guarantee that PB is peanut butter. Yep. Oh. Wow. I'd pay $18 for a can of this. This is a blueberry maple chocolate goza brewed with rock salt. So the rock salt is going to represent the saltiness of the goza. So basically they sour it. Sour a beer. I'm going to guess that they take blueberry maple, they age it on that. They age it on rock salt. They brew it with lactose sugar. And then they put peanut butter and blueberries in it. So they're probably going to brew it with lactose, sugar, peanut butter, and blueberries. Age it on maple, chocolate, and rock salt. You know what's great about this? Okay, let's talk about this really quick. So a lot of breweries, we have a handful, like 10 of them in Colorado that do this. They brew a beer. They add a bunch of crap in it, like peanut butter. And I say crap for that, not in this beer, but in their beer. And then they take chocolate or they take maple. And what they do is they take a keg and then they brew whatever they want. Like, as an example, they brew a sour. Then they take blueberries and they put it in the kegs. They don't really age it in a ferment or in an oak barrel or any type of barrel in a process. And what happens is a lot of these ingredients have oils and fats in them, and sugar. Sugar keeps fermenting in some way and could increase the alcohol, but those fats and those oils will break down the carbonation. So if you ever pour a beer, like see this here, I don't know if you can get it. I don't know if you can see it, but my beer still has a little layer of foam on it, and I've been talking to you for 38 minutes. I'm still drinking this. What happens is that layer just completely dies off when you crack it open and you pour it into your glass. And those oils and those fats basically are horrible for the beer. Consumers don't understand that. They don't even want to claim that it's fat or flat because the beer is so sour or so chocolatey. It's so good. I wonder if I have that milk chocolate from Unfiltered Arts. I need to bring that, and so we can do that. But the big thing is it just kills it. But these guys, I guarantee that their process and their love for beer, especially being in Belgium, all that competition, they're brewing this right. Now you crack it open and you get a nice head to the beer, which is the nice foaminess, nice aroma, and I guarantee it's going to be nice and tart, sour, and salty, but then you get all these nice flavor profiles, and they're not going to be over the top. I have a double raspberry that we can crack open, but I'm not going to do that right now. I think 2 beers is good. Okay, Omnipolo, if you're listening, I love your shirts. Guys, do me a favor. Never mind. You have one. I was going to say, will you make a dark shirt? Some of these, like, I would rock this. Devon the Dude. So that means, I wonder if they have Devon the Dude. I have a Devon the Dude in the cooler right now. Yeah, my customers will never understand that they made a beer in honor of an artist, Devon the Dude, a while back. Devon is truly the best. So much so that when we were too slow in making merch for the beer, Devon solved it with a bootleg Devon the Dude brew t-shirt for himself. We loved it, decided to make a tribute to that shirt. Look at that. I'd wear this and only one person would get this. That'd be Cooper. Alright. Is it cool if we be right back? We're going to pause this. I'm going to click on this. I'm just going to use the little boy's room. Be right back. All right, I am back. Okay, so that was Omnipolo. That was a good beer. All right, that, like I said, that was an Imperial. Shoot, I got a little bit more in there. I'm always afraid when you hold on. So earlier I was talking about if you hold on to a beer, if you get a beer, no matter what it is, the brewery, they didn't barrel age it. Drink it right away. That's all I have to say. Just crack it open, drink it. Who cares if you want to share with friends and family? If you don't get that opportunity, just do it. Just drink it. You know? So I got this one in June. I bought a case of it, 24 pack, and you're probably thinking you should drink it right away. Well, I drink a lot of beer. That's my profession, is to drink a lot of beer. So we could pour this later after I do this one. Okay, so the next one that we are drinking is going to be a little brewery. Excuse me. Called Evil Twin. An Evil Twin is based out of Denmark, but what they do is that they also come over through 12% and 12% imports right here again. And with them, they are based out of basically New York. They're really from Denmark. Okay, so let's go about. And this beer is called How Cool Is This? In the Catskills, we can get that true upstate experience. And this guy is, I believe, a double IPA. Let's flip it around to the right side. Double dry hopped, double Indian Pale Ale. They even say drink fresh. So this one I got back in... Ooh, too long. This was made in January. This was made a little over a year ago. Okay. We'll see how this experience is. Okay. This one's definitely hazy. I flip my can upside down. So I can get that yeast throughout. Oh, it's definitely hazy. Okay, this is a better example of product. Smells good. Okay, I cannot pronounce this guy's name. Yeah, let's see what they're talking about. So around the same time, and I'll give credit to Cooper again. Around the same time, we were, I mean, we still to this day, a couple years now, we've been sharing beers back and forth. And so we, you know, you go to the liquor store and you buy those singles. Experiment with it. Live life. You only live once. I was reading what they were saying. Okay, I love this. Another great brewery, another great concept. All good intentions to disturb, disorder, and enlighten you with unforgettable beer after beer. Because we are so much in love with good taste, all the beers from Evil Twin are prepared in 10 of the best breweries around the world. That's dope. Delicate, funky, extreme, and by all means, rare or raw flavors. Maybe not the easiest way, but certainly the most fun. Okay. We'll talk about this one and sitting on in taste profile. Okay, one more thing. A clever man once said, stay thirsty, stay foolish. That sounds like a vision, just with a tad less attitude. I love it. So I'm guessing they don't have any name under this. This is the founder of this. Let's look at their beers. So the one I'm drinking, we'll go through some of their beers like we did. I'll show you the beers I've had from them. I see a few of them. Make it lunch. You think they have a couple of beers? You know, I could have passed it because I was looking at cans. Yeah. That's why I was looking for a can. See how these are cans? Would it be funny it's not even on here? I don't know if that would be funny. Molotov cocktail, single Simcoe Hop Edition. Here, listen to this. They don't. Okay, let's turn that down. Sorry. They don't even have this beer on here. Evil Twin. Was this like a really rare one-off? All right. I don't see it. We tried. Okay, so basically being a double dry hop Imperial IPA, what's the ABV on this guy? This one's 8%. So like I said, they're calling this a double Indian Pale Ale versus an Imperial. That's that 8 to 10% ABV. ABV is alcohol by volume. But that's okay. And they probably, I don't know. I mean, a lot of these, without me assuming, I can go through here and see how many are double dry hopped or dry hopped at all. Dry hop or fresh hop The difference, let's start there. What does dry hop mean? There's two different ways that well, there's multiple ways you brew a beer. And then at the end of the process, you have what you can ferment or you can throw in the batch of beer when you're cold crashing it. Is you put hops in the process at one point or another when you're doing a boil. You can do a 10, 30, 40, 50, 60, 120 boil with hops, depending on what you're doing, right? So dry hopping would be the process of where you're taking your beer and then you're taking a hop and you're inserting it into the beer that you already made. So hops, let's talk about that story. Hops are going to be picked. They're cones. They're cousins of cannabis and weed. We can get into that another day. But anyways, you pick the cone. Once you pick the flower, the cone of the hops, you basically have 24 hours to utilize that as a fresh hop. What they do is they can throw it in, cold crash it somehow, put it in a cooler, and they can keep it. And usually, you don't want to keep it up to a year, but you can keep it up to a year. So, if you pick that and you don't use it within that first 24 hours, it becomes a dry hop. I don't really know if everybody puts it through a process of dry hopping it, or meaning like, do they do a heat process, chemical process, which I doubt that they do, but basically they're drying it out. So think of it like a cranberry. You pick it, it's fresh, but then you could hydrate it. Is it hydrating? Like beef jerky? Anyways, you dry it out, and then you have a dry cranberry. And you can do that with craisins and Fruitum cranberry, right? I don't know if you know those things, if you've ever had those, depending on what country you're in. But dry hopping it is a dry hop, basically. A fresh hop or a wet hop is usually what they call them. A wet hop is a fresh hop. It's still wet. It still has those oils in it, those tannins, those aromas, those flavors. Very pungent when it's a fresh hop versus a dry hop. So the cool thing about the dry hop is that you have the dry process, and you take that beer and you take a bunch of one or multiple hops and throw it into your beer and you dry hop it. We don't have this can up here, so we can't see what hops that they were using. Give me a second. And two, this beer should be drank really fresh. So you get a lot of citrusy profiles, a lot of earth profiles, and a lot of spicy profiles. So I'm guessing they use multiple hops. Anyway, so you throw that in there and you set it, and you can do anything from like hours to days to weeks to months. Keep adding over and over again and keep refreshing the hops that you keep throwing into that beer. Dry hop. Depends on what your budget really is. Let's talk about their lineup. So they here, I see down here a limited edition, year round. So they normally, these guys are newer in the last couple of years. This one I've had a couple of times. We're not going to talk about the ones I've had because then I'll be like, I've had this. But their Jesus series, super dope. Okay, let's start back up here. Okay, Berliner Weiss. Okay, this is another Belgium sour. Difference between the Goza, the Berliner Weiss, is that Weisses not always can be made with a wheat grain versus a barley, right? And so basically, they're taking a wheat beer and they're souring it. Depending on the process we talked about earlier, heating it up or aging it. But realistically, a wheat versus a barley would decipher if it's a Weiss. So let's click on this guy. So here, vegan style Berliner Weiss ale with mango pineapple added. The fuck? Wow. Pineapple and mango, that's probably really tart. Don, no. I don't know who Don is. Cool thing, let's do this because I just want you guys to understand the German processes, because like a Goza being that Goza profile, we were going to talk about souring and everything. But Berliner Weiss is a cloudy sour beer of around 3% by volume. And that's the cool thing about the different regions and the different countries and continents and all this stuff, is that the Germans, the Belgians, I'm assuming the French, because they're all close in region, that they let their youth drink, and having a 3%. But at the same time, it's not all about the young people. It's all about the fact that you consume alcohol all day and not get drunk. But this is a variation of a wheat beer style. Okay, so there's that. And then Goza, like I was telling you, now that I'm thinking about it, is a strong saltiness, is what I was telling you about, because the region of local water source. Here it says the result of either local water source or added salt. So what they're saying is that the rest of the world is adding salt to make it that same product, where in Germany they have a local water source that is salty. Now I'm curious. I've never looked into it, but I wonder if anyone used salt. Ocean water. But yeah, so Germany is well known for their wheat products and their wheat beers. So like going through that, and then you, whoops, my fat finger, sorry. The different products here, as you can see, this here. I love the fact that it says what beers are Pilsners. Like somebody asked that question. What is a Pilsner? So you guys can see. So Pilsner malt, lager yeast. So see the malt here, where there's a great, I kind of want to say like split on the German products, where you have a malt and you have a wheat product. But anyways, so the Berliner Weiss is going to be a wheat sour, and the Goza is a wheat sour. What else? We kind of talk about lagers, but we'll talk about them a little bit more because of the Pilsner process. A Helles that they have here is a Brett yeast. So Brett, depending on the Brett profile itself, this is fun too. You can sour your beer or dry it out. This is a sour lager. Yeah, I have customers who have come back in and said, I got my beer from here. This is where they're from. And I love Gypsy Brewing. Gypsy Brewing is kind of like what these guys are doing, is you just kind of jump around at different breweries and brew with them. You're a gypsy, you roam. And so you buy multiple Evil Twins, you might get multiple locations or brewed at. So this is South Carolina. Look, where's the Goza brewed at? South Carolina. Try this one. Westbrook. Were those all the same? I don't know. Single hop Imperial IPA. Wheat lager. Wow. Wait. Single hop Imperial Indian Pale American Wheat lager. Okay, so what I'm guessing is Imperial is 8% to 10%, right? Smash beers are single malt, single hop, right? So that's why they call them smash. That would be... This really could be a single, or this could be a smash beer. Because it's single hop, single malt. Yeah, I'm going to say it is. I bet my money on it. Anyone wants to argue about that, I totally would say it's smash. Okay, so this is complex, and this is a great thing about the beers and what we're talking about here. You got single hop. They don't really say what hop. Let's say it's a citra hop, right? Then what they do is they brew it enough to produce an ABV, alcohol by volume, at 8%. They are using not barley, but they're using wheat. Then they're lagering it. So the lagering process, like I talked about, is 10 weeks or more, which is a good number. So instead of making a beer in 7 to 10 days, they are actually taking about 10 weeks. Let's just guess on that one, to make it a lager. And they don't say anything else. Okay. We'll check one more, and then I'm going to go play some games. Raw. Okay. Let's see. We talked about Pilsners. Oh, let's talk about... Talked about Belgian processes. I could talk about this one. So this is a Belgian blonde. And then what they do is they age it on white peppercorns. See, this one's brewed in California. They're all over. All right. So this one would be a, well, they talk about what barrel that they're using. I'm just skimming over. The barrel age means that they're putting it in a barrel. They don't even tell us if it's a stainless steel or if it's a wood barrel. Then on top of that, it's a Belgian blonde. So you get that Belgian process. And they just talk about what Joey thinks or feels, or if he's allergic or not, and how they met him. That's really it. Okay, so I take a wild guess that they take a barrel, it's wood, it's going to be Belgium, maybe candy sugar, some type of Belgian malt or yeast. And then what they do is they use peppercorn. So it's going to have that white peppercorn, probably not as an intense pepper taste to it. 7%. They probably let the peppercorns fade out in the barrel process. All right, that wasn't really a fun one. What I was going to click on, just because if you're from America and we're talking about different processes, people love American wheats. Guys, in American wheats, and a lot of Americans drink Pilsners. They don't know if it's an ale or if it's a lager, depending on making it. And I get the name Pilsner should be a certain process, but welcome to America. And a lot of wheat ales are not a flavor profile anymore of just a wheat ale. They use things like honey, they use things like apricots, fruits, I guess I should say. And then they use things like spices, like ginger. And then they do a wheat ale to kind of mix it up. And a lot of Americans grew up on Bud Coors Miller, but at the same time, they got into Fat Tire, which is in the category getting them introduced into a wheat. I'm trying to think of the big wheat guys. Was it Samuel Adams or was it Nevada? I don't know. Anyways, the wheats got really big there for a while. So people are mixing up, so they have a wheat finish usually. So like this one's probably going to be barely saffron, berry, a little bit of honey, ginger definitely, more of a tartness because of the lemon, and then a wheat profile. So it's kind of like you took a wheat ale and you added glass and you made a mixed drink. A lot of places do that. They call them mixed beers. But yeah, so that would be a wheat ale. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thanks for hanging out and watching. I'm going to, I like this name, Start Me Up. I am going to go play some games here. I'm actually going to snack on something and then come back in like 10 minutes and play some games. So thank you for watching. And that's why we're called Nerds Brews Gaming. About damn time I started doing some beer videos. So just chatting. My name's Dave. DJ. Thug Murder is just a all-female street punk band from Japan. So don't get stuck up on that. Probably edit my name here soon because I need to be in line with 2021, and I respect everybody. I love diversity, and I love equality. So thank you for watching. Talk to you soon. See you